The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy, you're invited.
I have repeatedly offered $1,000 to anyone who can prove to me from the Bible alone that I am bound to keep Sunday holy. There is no such law in the Bible. It is a law of the Holy Catholic Church alone. The Bible says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. The Catholic Church says, no, by my divine power I abolish the Sabbath day and command you to keep holy the first day of the week. And lo, the entire civilized world bows down in a reverent obedience to the command of the Holy Catholic Church. T. N. Wright, CSSR, in a lecture at Hartford, Kansas, February 18, 1884. The Catholic Church for over 1,000 years before the existence of a Protestant, by virtue of her divine mission, changed the day from Saturday to Sunday. The Catholic Mirror, September 23, 1893. Question: which is the Sabbath day? Answer: Saturday is the Sabbath day. Question: why do we observe Sunday instead of Saturday? Answer: we observe Sunday instead of Saturday because the Catholic Church in the Council of Laodicea, AD 336, transferred the solemnity from Saturday to Sunday. Peter Geierman, The Convert's Catechism of Catholic Doctrine, 2nd edition, 1910, page 50. Question: have you any other way of proving that the Church has power to institute festivals of precept? Answer: had she not such power, she could not have done that in which all modern religionists agree with her. She could not have substituted the observance of Sunday, the first day of the week, for the observance of Saturday, the seventh day, a change for which there is no scriptural authority. Stephen Keenan, A Doctrinal Catechism, page 174. There is but one church on the face of the earth which has the power, or claims power, to make laws binding on the conscience, binding before God, binding under penalty of hellfire. For instance, the institution of Sunday. What right has any other church to keep this day? You answer by virtue of the third commandment. The papacy changed the fourth commandment and called it the third, which says, remember that thou keep holy the Sabbath day. But Sunday is not the Sabbath. Any schoolboy knows that Sunday is the first day of the week. I have repeatedly offered $1,000 to anyone who will prove by the Bible alone that Sunday is the day we are bound to keep, and no one has called for the money. It was the Holy Catholic Church that changed the day of rest from Saturday, the seventh day, to Sunday, the first day of the week. T. Enright, CSSR, in a lecture delivered in 1893.
Yep, y'all heard it here. You heard it here. From the horse's mouth. Who changed the truth of God into a lie? To have man worship creature over the Creator. Shalom, brothers and sisters. I'm Elder Ricard Shiar of the Gathering of Christ Church, here with our weekly Patreon update. And yes, everything we were told about our Bible, about our prophets, about our Christ, even concerning the holy days, God said don't change. According to the Bible, it was all a lie. Not the Bible itself, the infiltrators. So how do the cunning hunter, how does the cunning hunter indirectly affect God's people? By setting up false days, false holy days, false worships, teaching grace over the law. Well, it's exactly what Satan said he would do, using the 7 heads and 10 horns. How do you indirectly destroy God's people like this? Well, when you have a people who are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, with no idea that they are actually from the lost tribes of Israel, serve chattel slavery, become re-educated under the same enemy who have always destroyed our people. You would have a people who would seek to you for guidance. And through that respect, our people started to pick up the Bible and the understanding of it according to the enemy. So in order to aggrandize ourselves, to be accepted by those who were in authority, we sought to please them by doing things as they were doing it. And indirectly, this was their plan. If we can infiltrate the Bible by the time the children of Israel wake up, not infiltrate the Bible, but teach a false ideology or a false doctrine, indirectly those people will pick up those practices. And by taking on these practices as the gospel, God's people would be in direct opposition of the God and or Christ who was prophesied to save them. We'll just step out of the way. We'll put the false doctrine out there, false Sunday, Christmas, and we'll actually incentivize and help them celebrate this. We'll give them gifts, days off, bonuses to continue the lie. And therefore, we'll just back out of the way, and the slaves will continue the cycle, believing that they are truly serving the God in Christ of the Bible. But indirectly, without us doing anything at all, these people will stay in perpetual opposition with the God who cursed them. What a cunning hunter. He set a trap and just walk away. Sunday worship is a trap. Christmas is a trap. All the holidays celebrated in our modern times are pagan, Babylonian. And while our people think we're celebrating Christ during this time, the evildoers get their hands bloody through child sacrifice to Moloch. Shalom, brothers and sisters. I'm segueing into our Patreon today. As you can see, the phone number's up there, but I don't know whether or not I'm going to use the phone today and or Zoom. I'll definitely have Zoom up. So the phone number is there just in case y'all call in. But if you can't get in through the phone number, it's okay. I'll have Zoom up for face-to-face interactions. All right. I just wanted to put it out there real quick, right? That the enemy have told us for many eons, for years, actually, that the full thing they taught us within Christianity was a bold-faced lie. But they just had to put it out there knowing that it would stick on our people. See, Gentiles aren't held to the same standards as the children of Israel, and they know it. See? They know it. So if they can get the children of Israel to cleave on to those fake high holy days and practices, traps that were set by the Roman Catholic Church, then the God who've enslaved us will continually be at war against us. Why? Because we weren't supposed to follow what the Gentiles were telling us, whether we believe they were telling the truth or not. We were supposed to study the word, study the show thyself approved unto the Almighty, so that we cannot use the fact that, well, I didn't know, as an excuse. The Bible says, try the spirits to see if it's of the Most High. We were supposed to filter everything the enemy gave us through the word of God. And be like, well, okay, Christ didn't say this. Christ didn't say that I'm going to change the holy day from Saturday to Sunday after my resurrection. So I got to throw that out. See, easy. Christ didn't say you can do whatever you want to do and grace will cover you, even if you sin against the word of God intentionally, knowing you're breaking a law. Christ never did away with that. You're supposed to throw that away. See? It's quite that simple. And once you throw all the lies the enemy have actually taught our people throughout generations, you'll find you're going to be right where we are right now. Following the Most High in God through Christ in spirit and in truth. Okay, so we're going to talk about it today, but before I go into that, I'm going to segue over. Let's talk about what we're going to go into on Patreon, right? Let's talk about it real quick. But yes, I put that challenge out there. The same thing as the former Catholic priest, right? If any theologian out there can prove Sunday worship is the day to be worshiped according to the Bible, strictly using the Bible, okay, I'll give you $1,000. And that challenge is open to anyone. I don't care how studied you are, how long you were studying. I'll tell you right now, if you are a preacher, you are a pastor, if you can open up the Bible and show us out of the Bible that the Sabbath was changed from the seventh day to the first day. And guess what? I'll do it publicly. Everyone could see it. Everyone is here. I will donate $1,000 to your church or to the charity of your choice. Take me up on it. I want to help you. Take me up on it. I would love to bless your ministry. Okay? As anyone. The challenge is open. Any pastor, preacher, hey, you can be a member of a Christian church. All right. If right now, you're hurting right now and you think that, I'm a man of my word. I'll be right here with you. I'll bring you online and say, okay, go at it with the Bible open. And if you can prove to me that Sunday worship is the day to be worshiped according to the Old or New Testament strictly using the Bible, while we're live on air, it would only take you about 1 or 2 minutes maximum to prove this. Live on air with witnesses, I'll show exactly the amount. You tell me how you want to send it, and I'll send it the way you request. Live before the whole world. Okay? So the challenge is open. So what will we be going into on Patreon? Now, before I go into that, let me make another announcement here. The challenge is open. Yes, January 7th in 28 days begins what? Our first GOCC. Let me break it down here so y'all can see it. It began our first GOCC Royalty Summit. Our first annual GOCC annual summit, okay? July 7th and 8th, all right? Now, again, you can secure your spot. It's predominantly for church members, all right? Here is the event. Advance in the mission. The GOCC Royalty Summit is a transformative event that will unite the community in a powerful way, fostering new relationships with the Most High and empowering our people to reach their full potential. The summit also aims to bring new souls to the kingdom, creating a network of individuals dedicated to spreading love, faith, and positivity in this world. Join us as we come together to celebrate our shared beliefs in Christ and embark on a journey of spiritual growth and enlightenment. So what can we look forward to? Well, on Friday, we'll have a health and finance expo. We need to teach our people how to operate according to God when it comes to resources. Okay? It's through our minds of ingenuity. It's through our minds of high level understanding on how to plan, like Moses and like Joseph, who preserved the earth alive, one of our forefathers. It was through that planning the earth was preserved, but somewhere it was lost. And we're going to talk about that. Health, family, and finance. How to do right with your resources to help your family through Jacob's trouble. And that night, Friday night, there will be a play. The play, The Story of Samson. 7 p.m. that night, when the sun go down, we're going to witness a great production put on by the Gathering of Christ Church. I'm going to do a Sabbath lesson between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. that morning. Okay? Then we'll all go home, get ourselves together. We'll go to our abodes and come back that night for the first annual White and Gold Gala. We're going to roll out the white carpet for the saints, Israelites and Gentiles alike. The theme will be white and gold. Women, our sisters are going to have on the white and gold gowns. It's going to look absolutely elegant. We're going to roll out the white carpet as you come in. We're going to have our photographers there as you go into the ballroom with 1,000 waiting on you, 1,000 people with tables laid out. And guess what? We're going to roll out the white carpet, take pictures as you go right in front of that big billboard. Welcome to the first annual gala. A presentation fit for royalty. We will have a concert that night. We're going to have nice food. Right, we're going to have like a 2 or 3 course meal already out for all those who are intended. So come with your appetite, because guess what? The food is going to be great. And this is how you celebrate the awakening. Music, a concert, and of course I'll have a word before we all end. It's going to be something grand, and I hope you all can attend. All right? So that's going to be June 7th. Now let me say this, brothers and sisters, I held off the GOCC Royalty Summit. I held off from offering tickets to those on the outside of congregations. But again, we're going to give it 3 more days. If these tickets aren't sold up between 3 days, I'm going to open the floodgates, and whoever want to get the rest of the tickets will get their preferential treatment, because it's first come, first serve. I held off the population who've been chopping at the bit to get these tickets for over a month. So if there's any free seats by Monday or Tuesday, I'm opening up the summit so that anyone who would like tickets can purchase those. Okay, I'm telling you right now. So if you haven't gotten your ticket as of yet, make sure you go to your local elder, deacon, bishop, and let them know you would like to attend. You will go to the website, sign up, and pick your tickets on the site. Hey, if we don't see it by next Wednesday, I'm opening things up for the population. And we are looking into, for those who won't be present, we're looking into alternatives that can give you an insight into the concert, but it will be a private link possibly. So hold tight. You're not going to miss it. We're working behind the scenes to see if we can make this an international gala where you could still view it as if you were viewing one of our classes or Passovers, okay? So I'm thinking about you all, so don't worry about it. But we must prefer the baptized members first, so get on it. Will there be an opportunity for baptisms? We're going to try to have a few baptisms even before that, but that is a good question, all right? So I don't want to take too long because it's 4:30 already. It's 4:30 already, and I need at least an hour and a half through Patreon. So let's jump in and talk about what we'll be going into on Patreon, if you will. Okay. Oh, yeah. This coming Sunday, right? Our theme, making it through Jacob's trouble, but you cannot make it unless you understand the enemy, right? So we are exposing Esau, the cunning hunter. Who is Esau? The cunning hunter. And then we're going to give you some examples throughout history of how Esau set traps against Jacob. Even when you go into 70 AD, he used a false flag through Nero. They burned a few markets within Rome, blamed it on the Israelites who believed in Christ, and by doing so received the political backing by Roman citizens to come up against our people in Jerusalem, using a false flag, claiming that something happened to their people at a market by Israelites. Does that sound familiar? Well, 4 years later after that, Vespasian and Titus came against Jerusalem, and that's how we lost Jerusalem. And this is when we ran into Africa and different remote parts, running from persecution, as it's prophesied not just through Christ in the book of Luke, the 21st chapter. Okay. Also, 19 and 21, when you read on down. Also, in Revelations 12, where it says that the serpent came against the woman who brought forth the man-child, and we ran into the wilderness. Okay? Okay? So again, they set a trap. Here's another trap they utilize to keep us from being able to mobilize, with upward mobility. What they can claim is there's a disease that continually breaks out predominantly where we live. And under the international body, there's a screening process concerning our people when it comes to travel from Africa, because they're claiming that all of these diseases are happening amongst us, when really it's a restriction in place due to a technicality that they can claim, well, it's the international law that comes in the agreement, even with Africa, that we have to screen your people coming out of Africa because certain diseases fester amongst you. See? And then they can get you by saying, well, you can go travel to see your people, but you have to get inoculated because we don't want anything to happen to you if you go over there, with all that stuff. But the rest of the world can travel freely without that stigma on them. It reminds me a little bit, and I'm going to go to Patreon in a moment. It reminds me of during the Dark Ages, they came up with this thing called the Black Plague. And when you go into history and studying the Black Plague, another Roman cunning hunter tactic, if a disease breaks out and someone says that it's predominantly amongst our people in the village, then we become what? We become public enemy number one. We're walking death. And now the citizens who are afraid will avoid us. And then that gives the government full autonomy to send in who? The scientists to come in to actually help us with the sickness. Folks, that happened during the Black Plague, during the Dark Ages. And guess what? After they went into the town, they came back and reported, we couldn't save these people. So many people died with a built-in what? Reason. So that no one can question all the dead in the village. But then it came out that when people started to go into the village to eventually were those who were brave enough to go in and bury the people who they claim died of the Black Plague, that it wasn't the scientists who came in. It was the mercenaries. The mercenaries came in and killed and destroyed many towns under the guise of a plague. And when courageous people went into the villages, they said, there's no plague here. These people were killed. Right? But we know, just like Dave Chappelle says, sprinkle crack on the bodies, there's nothing to see here. So that's another tactic Esau used, is putting a negative stigma when it comes to disease on a particular race of people. And guess what? This coming Sunday, I'm breaking it all the way down. The traps Esau sets. Same thing. Well, the scientists said this, that, and the other. So the governing body, we just want to make sure when you travel, we want to make sure you're safe. So why don't you take this, what we're about to give you, so when you go over there, you know what I mean? That bad stuff over there, don't harm you. Now, if you come down with something, then obviously it had to have happened over there. It had nothing to do with the treatment. It had nothing to do with us giving you some preventative stuff. Right? So if something happened to you, there's a built-in reason for whatever happens. And they'll blame it on the country you traveled to. I'm trying to speak in code. So this is what we're going to talk about on Patreon today, and I hope you all can join us on Patreon /AGathering144. This Sunday, the Traps Esau sets. Okay? This coming Sunday, I'm going into that this coming Sunday. Who's Edom? Now, jumping right in, what will we be covering in or on Patreon, one might ask? Well, today on Patreon, we're going into Dr. Bryan Ardis, and he's going to give us some insight on snake's venom. What is the makeup of snake's venom? And can you find snake's venom in certain ingredients? Right? We're going to talk about that. What ingredients can you find snake venom in? I'm curious. Why would you use snake venom for certain ingredients? Folks, we're even going to look in the fact that some of the makeup and stuff that people have been putting on their face and stuff like that. Have you ever really looked into the ingredients for that stuff? And is there a connection to why some people, may get, let me put it this way, sicknesses or unexplained sicknesses? Could it be in some of the products? Well, that and more, this is going to blow you away. It's going to utterly blow you away. I'm going to also be talking about Jayla Phelan. I did an interview with her in 2011, 2012, when she was talking about watch out for the water. Her whole plan, I would say interview, she gave us insight to eventually there may come a time where people begin to exhibit respiratory issues. And I'm not trying to connect any dots right here, but I find it eerily coincidental. Okay? I find it eerily coincidental. And then speaking of coincidence, I go way back to the World Trade Center, September 11th, 2001, where a lot of laws came out after that particular attack on New York. And out of that came a project that was headed up by none other than Fauci. Project BioShield. Now, this was deep. The objective of Project BioShield is to accelerate the research, development, procurement, and availability of effective medical countermeasures against biological, chemical, radiological, and nuclear agents. Right? Project BioShield, right? So we're going to go in and find out what exactly is that, right? What's going on with that? And then we're going to what? I'm going to show you here. Let me, if you can. We're going to go into Project BioShield a little bit. What was signed through Congress. This is actually a government, of course, you can go. This is, all these transcripts that Congress has is readily available for anyone who would like to look into it, but the majority of people aren't looking into anything, right? And it goes into all the elected officials who agreed with this particular scenario. But then when you go to Project BioShield hearing, held on April 4th, 2003, mind you. It's Dr. Anthony Fauci. Right here. from 2003. So, why were they funding this in 2003? I'm just looking at a few coincidences here. It's probably nothing. It's probably nothing at all, actually. Right? I'm just tying in, just looking at, what our taxpayer, I pay taxes. What our good old tax money, how our good old tax money is being used. And since I pay taxes, I just wanted to look into what are you doing? 2003, Anthony Fauci, Director, National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, National Institutes of Health, Department of the Health and Human Services. Right? It goes into all the names. Started way back then. Project BioShield. Now, I'm just going to look into this. I'll talk about this on Patreon. Because back then, they feared that one of these clandestine Muslim terrorist groups might come up with certain diseases that were genetically specific. That they could target a certain demographic based on genome makeup. That means you can specifically make a weapon for a specific race under certain circumstances. And they were looking into this and whether or not that they maybe, if that happened, that maybe they should have something to protect this or protect people who are the specific genome that's targeted. It's quite interesting that they knew back in 2003, after the World Trade Center and all that, and this is the funding that came out of the attacks on the World Trade Center. Interesting. Even bioweapons. And I believe that's why they call it BioShield. Project BioShield. It's just interesting to me. That's all. I'm just looking at some of the coincidences. And then when I look at some of the coincidences and I see right here, it says Project BioShield initiative is designed to ensure that the United States is prepared. So 2003, what is the preparation? Well, the bill, check this out, folks. Y'all need to check this out. Look at this. Let me put it here. The bill has three main components. First, it sets up a process to expedite research and development, of biomedical countermeasures, As part of this process, the Secretary of Health and Human Services would have flexible acquisition authorities to quickly and effectively buy cutting-edge products and services to support research, development, and production of vaccines and treatment. It's quite interesting. 2003. Additional acquisition flexibilities are put at the Secretary's disposal for the creation of a stockpile of these critical countermeasures. The Secretary would also have streamlined authority to hire technical experts and consultants. Interesting to me, It's quite interesting to me, I just, looking into the Bible, there's a lot of coincidences I'm seeing with, I don't know. I'm just trying to tie it all together, but where it says that those who didn't believe would have the sting of a scorpion, as if they were stung by a serpent or a scorpion. And then I started to look into the side effects for scorpion bites. And, it's just a lot of stuff, but I just pray to God that I'm a naturalist myself, right? And I believe according to God, we can only consume or put in our bodies what's contained in the law according to God. That's just my religious belief. And I've been healthy following that righteous regimen. So even though I can understand people through fear or whatever might happen, may make choices for themselves, I choose God. And I choose the laws within the book. Now, if God said do it and showed me that these particular ingredients were lawful according to God, then of course I would promote anything God wants. But if I don't see it in the Bible, or if I see it as something that's outside of what God intended for his people, I leave it for the world's citizens to make their choice concerning their health. Okay. So myself, I would have never been involved in anything like that. You understand? Because normally those who believe in Christ would say, well, they would look at themselves and say, okay, if Christ and the disciples were here and an emergency happened such as the one we just experienced, would they be lined up outside of the clinic? And I thought about that, and I'm like, when Christ gave the disciples power to step on serpents, the power to heal, right? And he says, I'm giving you the power to trample the serpent. So let alone, I'm not afraid of the serpent or its venom. So when I put myself in the position of a disciple who believe in God, I follow Christ. And come to find out what Christ told us to do really benefited us, because there's so many people who didn't believe and believed everything they were seeing that I'm talking to through phone calls and all that has serious regrets that they crumbled under pressure against their own conscience. See, I don't have to worry about whether or not I made the wrong choice, right? My body is just as healthy as it was before it happened. So now if I got sick, I don't have to question whether or not it was a choice I made while the whole world were afraid. Okay? So I'm just going to put that out there. All right. It's time for Patreon. I'm going to give y'all a Patreon link. The Patreon will only be an hour. Let's go. Janet Phelan gave us a warning. She gave us an exclusive interview in 2011, 2012. And she said, well, listen, we need to look up, we need to find out what's going on with the water. Okay. So that's all I can say on this side. If you want to be a part of the Patreon, come on in through, I'm going to use Zoom today. You can come in on Zoom and give us some takes on your opinion concerning some of the information I'll divulge on that side. Okay? With that, brothers and sisters, if you are a Patreon member, come on over, Patreon.com/agathering144. If you're not on Patreon, it's okay. I'll see you tomorrow, or you'll see me tomorrow, with a blessed Sabbath lesson. With that, I'm going to say shalom. May the Most High be with you. Stay prayed up. Sin not. We'll soon see Israel, brothers and sisters. And yes, watch out for Esau's traps. Okay? Who is Edom? You'll know this Sunday. I'll see you in a couple of moments on Patreon.
In 721 BC, the Assyrian king, he took us down, we fell. With a great escape, we went through the Euphrates. The Lord held the water still. To a land where no mankind dwelt, we went. The 12 tribes of Israel. That's who we be, Manasseh, the Cubans, Ephraim, from Puerto Rico, Naphtali from the Isles of Hawaii. The Lord is calling back Israel. Zebulun from Panama, Gad, American Indian,
Oh my goodness.
the highest gathering Israel.
Hold up. Hold up. Someone said in the chat that they would like to request a debate with me concerning tithing. Let me make this clear. If you don't want to tithe, that's a choice you make. But don't try to excuse what you're doing by claiming God said you're not supposed to do it. See, and that's where people become disingenuous, number one, and attempt to have a conversation in bad faith. But I'm not going to debate you on this, but I'm going to give you some examples. Because if I allow you to say that tithing is done away with, then I'm also on the side, then you can also be on the side with the Christians who are claiming everything that God said is done away with. How can you make that emphatic statement and claim? Now, this is what I'm going to do real quick, just so I can help you out. Real quick, I'm going to help you out. Right? I'm going to help you out. Just say you don't want to tithe. Don't try to say, well, I'm doing it because the Bible said you shouldn't do it. Because you can't find that nowhere in the Bible. That's number one. Number two, I'm going to show you some of the arguments these people use who claim that tithing is done away with. They'll go into the Old Testament and say, well, tithing wasn't money. Yeah, they were given 10% of their grain, 10% of their livestock to the priesthood to preserve the priesthood. And you know what? You would be correct. But I'm going to show you where, because they try to use Christ as the reason that you shouldn't tithe because the Levitical priesthood is done away with. Well, Hebrews 7:14 states what? For it is evident that our Lord sprang out of Judah. Judah. Matter of fact, let me read it for you. I'll teach you. Because you're not in a position to debate. Okay? Hebrews 7:14. And it seems like our people have an issue. Our issue is we look for reasons not to follow what's in the book. And folks, that's the spirit that got us here. Now, if you don't want to tithe based on some of what these people are doing, the criminality of the Christian churches, I can understand your reason based on what's going on out there. But don't try to say that the Bible states that tithing is done away with. That doesn't exist. Now, you may think that there's no one out there worthy to receive your tithe. Well, that's your personal business. But let me read this real quick. Hebrews 7, verse 14. I'm teaching you. Okay? Let me show you real quick before I go over to Patreon. right? Hebrews 7:14. For it is evident that our Lord sprang out of Judah, of which tribe Moses spake nothing concerning priesthood. And it is yet far more evident, for that after the similitude of Melchizedek, there ariseth another priest, right? Who is made not of the carnal law of a carnal commandment, but after the power of the endless life. So Christ became the priest who did what? Who took the place of the Levitical priesthood. And this is why they wanted Christ dead, is because people were pouring into Christ according to God's law instead of following Pharisaical law. They were afraid that the finances would go to a different priesthood. That's number one. Number two, they'll say, well, it was animals. It was livestock. I know your argument already. Well, then you would have to answer this. Right? You would have to answer this then. And this is food for thought. Right? Right? And I'm just doing this to help you. All right? Let me give you this real quick. I'm in Mark, the 12th chapter. I'm in Mark, the 12th chapter. Right? The widow's offering. And Yeshua sat over against the treasury and beheld how the people cast money into the treasury. So there was a treasury during the time of Christ where even though, folks, these people had animals, they had livestock, but they also had money. And many that were rich cast in much. Did they cast in the lettuce that they grew for that harvest, that was just harvest? What did they put into the treasury? And there came a widow, certain poor widow, and she threw in 2 mites, which make a farthing. That was the currency at that time. And he called unto him his disciples and saith to them, verily I say unto you, that this poor widow have cast more in than all they which have cast into the treasury. And again, Christ's own words, Matthew 5. Right? Matthew, hold on. Right? This is Christ. Think not that I've come to destroy the law. Tithing was a law. Or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, and we're still here, one jot or one tittle shall no wise pass from the law until all be fulfilled. So that means as long as there's a sun outside, as long as there's a moon, stars, and the earth exists, all the laws that were given are confirmed until Christ returns, including tithing. Because tithing came under the order of Melchizedek, while Levi was in the loins of Abraham, when Abraham paid 10% to Melchizedek, who is Shem. Now, if he paid 10%, that means the law was in Abraham before there was a Levitical priesthood. So you can't say that because Levi is no longer the priest, that the tithing is done away with. because there comes one after the order of Melchizedek, who is Christ. So those who are in the churches under Peter didn't pay 10% to the old priesthood. They paid 10% to the 7 churches that were established. See that? They were no longer obligated to pay under the Pharisaical setup. And this is why they wanted the disciples out of here, because they were taken away from what the Pharisees were receiving. See, but you don't know, you haven't done any studies on the established churches that was set up under Peter. That's why you say you wanted a debate. Okay? The priesthood didn't change. They were paying tithes in the churches. Okay? I've done the research. So there is no debate. Okay? If you don't want to tithe, then you don't get the blessing that comes with tithing. Maybe there's not a pastor out there that you appreciate enough to tithe to. That's your problem. Okay? That's not a debate. That's your problem. Because you don't have someone you can respect enough that have sown in you. Okay? So, hey, you get what you sow into. Shalom. See you over on Patreon. I want to debate you on tithing. No. We're too late in the game for that. Go find somewhere else to play. Okay? Shalom.